Hello, I'm Tamisha Keel, Assistant Director at the University of Miami's School of Law Career Development Office. This morning we have the wonderful pleasure of interviewing one of our illustrious alumni, Don West Jr., a 2000 graduate of the University of Miami School of Law. Don?
Very happy to be here. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm doing great.
Well, tell us, you have such a wonderful background. Tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of where you're from originally, how you came to South Florida, the university.
I'm originally from Philadelphia. I was born in Philadelphia. When I was in second grade, my family moved to Huntsville, Alabama. From Huntsville, Alabama, I went into the Navy in the officer selection program. I was in San Diego for a year in that program, and then I got a ROTC scholarship that brought me to Tallahassee, Florida. While I was in Tallahassee, Florida, I was looking to go to law school from the time that I got into undergrad. And the University of Miami was one of the places that I thought that I would like to go because I had an interest in sports, and I wanted to stay in Florida because of the relationships that I had started to build in undergrad. And that's what got me to South Florida. And through the years, I haven't been able to get away from South Florida. It keeps pulling me back.
But wonderful. And so tell us a little bit, what made you decide to become an attorney?
I've always wanted to be an attorney since I was a little kid. It was my grandmother's idea. In retrospect, now I realize I thought it was something that I came up with. But since I was 6 years old, me and my grandmother had a running game that we played all the way through my graduation in 2000 about me being an attorney, and she always enforced being an honest and ethical attorney. And I also learned that that has a lot to do with some of her family experiences in relationship to attorneys. Specifically, there was a family home in Virginia that was lost in a probate. And the probate attorney that was representing the family ended up owning the house. And that stuck with my grandmother, and she always wanted me to be an honest and ethical attorney because she thought that attorney had been a little unfair in the way that they dealt with the family. So that was a motivating factor with me, and that was a goal that I worked for all through my high school years and my college years, was to get to law school, and ultimately brought me here to the University of Miami.
Okay, and talk a little bit about that. What made you decide to choose the University of Miami as the law school for you?
You know, I looked at a lot of law schools. People ask me, I tell them I applied to 30 different law schools. And I did that because I read a lot of books, and people said you're supposed to have a first tier set of choices and a second tier and a third tier. And then I realized if I was going to apply to this set of schools, I should apply to all of them. I actually applied for waivers because I was an independent sole supporting student, and a lot of law schools, including the University of Miami, either waived my admission application fee or gave me a reduction. And I sent applications out to a lot of people, and I got accepted to about 20 schools. And I chose the University of Miami because of its geographic location, because of the companies and sports franchises that were present in South Florida, and specifically, the final determining factor was I got offered a fellowship into the James Weldon Johnson program, which is a pre-law orientation program to help further a candidate's understanding of the law school process for people that didn't have any exposure to it. Like myself, when I was coming to law school, you know, I didn't meet my first lawyer until after I graduated from college in terms of actually having an interaction. So that program, it was very invaluable in terms of understanding the law school classroom, how it differs from the undergrad classroom, the expectations, the lingo. You know, your first year of law school is about learning a new language, really, and that's the difficulty. And to have a head start for me, I thought that would be a great opportunity to begin my law career with an understanding of what my law career was about. And that's what made me decide to come here, because they offered me the James Weldon Johnson Fellowship.
Oh, that's wonderful. And just kind of backtracking a little bit with your experience, so you were in the military.
I was in the military. My military career was very short in that in high school, a very savvy recruiter told me some things that weren't necessarily true about what was going to happen if I signed this piece of paper. But the result of it was I went into an officer selection program in San Diego. It was called BOOST, the Broadened Opportunity for Officer Selection and Training Program. And the parameters of that gave you an ROTC scholarship to the school of your choice when you graduated. I chose to go to Florida State, which was the school that I had planned to go to before I went to the Navy. And I was going to go to Florida State and be a track athlete before I went to the Navy. What I got out of that Navy experience in that BOOST program was it was an officer selection school, so they taught you leadership, they taught you strategy, physical fitness, you know, all those things. And those are tools that I was able to just bring with me. The ceremonious end to my military existence was Bill Clinton started downsizing the military during his first term, and in 1994, my sophomore year of college, I wanted them to write down that I could go to law school because that was my childhood dream. And the recruiter had tricked me into getting in the military. And they said, we can't write it down that we'll let you go to law school. And I didn't care how I went to law school. I'll do 7 years in the military, but I'm going to law school before you put me on a ship. And they said, we can let you out. And I thought I had made my first great legal argument because the Bill Clinton downsizing initiative hadn't really been publicly announced. So they let me out in December of 1994, and I had been honorably discharged from active duty in August of '93. So I did a year and a half of ROTC at Florida State, and that was the end of my military career.
Oh, okay. But no doubt, very, very interesting. And so can you give any advice for students who are looking towards coming to the University of Miami School of Law as potential students? Because it seems as if you had a lot of experience in research, but what were some of the qualities that you think maybe helped you stand out to make your application as successful as it was?
Well, you know, I was a student athlete, and I was a psychology major in undergrad, and you know, I was a student first, so I did very well in school. I had a very good GPA, but I also was very involved in other activities aside from being a student athlete and aside from just being a student. I was an ambassador for the athletic department of Florida State, so I went around the community speaking, and those are things and experiences that gave me perspective of what was going on in the community, and that played into my personal statement. My personal statement when I sent out my application for law school was about wanting to be able to be a service to the community that I came from and the greater community that I'm a part of, and incorporating all of those other experiences and life lessons, the military, the athletic